Hello, welcome to this segment on factoring. Let's go through a few basic fundamentals when we're factoring. First, let's just understand basically what factoring is. Basically, factoring, you want to take an expression. I'm going to look at the number 6. Factoring simply means taking a number or an expression and writing it as a something times something for that particular number, writing the product for that number. So what times what is 6? Well, that's just 2 and 3. Okay, that's a no-brainer, right? Well, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to use polynomials to factor. We're going to look at an expression, 2x squared, just an example, plus 4x. Well, you probably say, okay, this is completely different than 2x squared, 6. Well, here, it's still the same principle, but I want to write this expression as something times something else. Well, the way you do that, I look at each term, and I look at the first thing you look at is I have some steps over here. The first thing I look at, my first thought whenever I factor, is to look at greatest common factor. What's my greatest common factor between 2x squared and 4x? Well, it happens to be 2 and x. Well, if I factor out a 2x or divide 2x squared by 2x, you'll get x plus 4x divided by 2x, I get 2. Well, let's test it to see if this works. Well, when I multiply this out, I get 2x squared, because 2x times x is 2x squared, same thing, plus 2x times 2, which is 4x. So I get the original. So therefore, this represents the factors of that polynomial, which happens to be a binomial, and I have 2x times the expression x plus 2. And that's one example. Okay, this type is a little different. The first thing I'm going to do for this type is, again, go through the process. Is there a greatest common factor that I can factor out between the terms? No. You go to the next thought. Is this a difference of two squares? Well, this is a difference of two squares. And let me show you what the factors for difference of two squares looks like. Okay? It's going to be two sets of parentheses. This is x. What times what will give you x squared, because you can write this as something squared. And what times what will give you 4? Well, that's 2 and 2. So I can write this as plus 2 and minus 2. Let's test this to see if it works. X times x is x squared. X times negative 2, that's negative 2x. 2 times x, that's 2x. 2 times negative 2, that's negative 4. They cancel. I'm left with x squared minus 4. Notice the middle terms cancel. And every time when I have a binomial, when you can write this is something squared and this is something squared, well, your factors will look something like this. This is the pattern. Okay? Let's look at an example of guess and check. Okay, here is an example of a guess and check type of problem. I still go through the same thought process so I don't miss anything, but I'm going to get to the guess and check part because it's going to fail both of those tests. So here, for the guess and check, I do two sets of parentheses. What times what is x squared? X. What times what is 6? That'll add up to give you 5. Right, think of the factors. Great job. It's going to be 2 and 3. And that's it. This is basically, we'll call this level 1 with factoring. After this, you just want to look at different examples, but it's basically the same steps throughout the process. They just get a little longer, a little more challenging, and that's it.